Hello. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and welcome to the GP Office Hours webinar. We are excited to start this series and hope that you will join us each month on the third Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Today, we'll be discussing emailing options within GP, and this session will be presented by Natalie Avery and Jim Lemcaw, who are both GP senior consultants with a wealth of knowledge at their fingertips. So we hope that you enjoy this session, and we look forward to seeing you on future ones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome for coming. We do have, before we get started, we do have a word from our sponsors. Margaret, did you?
I believe Dawn has that.
Dawn has, all right, Dawn.
Let's introduce our team today. It's Natalie Avery, who's a senior GP consultant, and Jim Lemcaw, who is also a senior GP consultant. And they'll share a little bit more about themselves in just a minute. And so let's go to the next slide. Today's GP Office Hours is sponsored by AvidXchange. And here you have a visual of what AvidXchange can do. They automate accounts payable and they integrate with Microsoft Dynamics GP. In the upper corner, you'll see a little QR code, which will take you through to a use case on Piedmont Services Group. And I'm just going to share a quick testimonial from Piedmont. And this is what they reported. Thanks to AvidXchange, we no longer have file cabinets in the AP department, and we're no longer wasting time searching through paper to process invoices and pay our bills. Now, instead of cutting checks and stuffing envelopes and dealing with postage, the team simply uploads a batch of invoices into the AvidXchange platform, and the AvidXchange payments team takes it from there. And the reason I'm thankful for our sponsors, if we go to the next slide, is that they're offering something very special for you, those of you who are in attendance. At the end of the presentation today, or towards the end of the presentation, I'm going to share a link in the chat. I'm also going to email it to all of you who are in attendance. And we ask that if you complete your survey by midnight tonight, you'll be entered into a drawing for a $250 Amazon gift card. And that is compliments of our sponsor, AvidXchange. So thank you. And now let's get to the good stuff, the meat of the presentation.
Okay, so we are going to hand it over to Jim Lemcaw. He is going to start us off to talk about one of the two options or alternatives that we are going to inform you about today.
Hello. As they mentioned, my name's Jim, and I've been working with Great Plains since 1995. And I've worked for a variety of resellers in the Chicagoland area, and that's where I'm located at. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you on getting your email solutions up and running. But why do we have to have this conversation? Back in October of 2022, Microsoft stopped supporting basic authentication for emailing, and which used a transport layer security TLS of 1.0, and they switched over to the multi-factor authentication, which uses TLS 1.2. As a result, email functionality with GP versions prior to 18.3 and earlier are no longer will function properly. That being said, one reason is the easiest thing would say, let's go ahead and upgrade GP, and then we'll just use the GP functionality for emailing in there. But you may not be at a point where you're ready to do an upgrade. If you are, just let us know and we're willing to start that quoting process for you. But otherwise, we have two optional solutions for you. I'm going to talk about Liaison Messenger EDD, which is electronic document delivery. And my colleague Natalie is going to pick up on Forms Printer. So go ahead.
Before we move forward, one of the things my fault I forgot to do is we wanted to ask the audience a number of poll questions just to get a sense of who our audience is today. So the first poll question is for our sponsor, and that is, does your organization suffer from any of these AP processing pain points? And you can choose, it's a multiple choice question. Give it a couple more seconds here. And then I'll end the poll. See a few of the bars moving. So I'm gonna last chance to click what your pain points. All right. Leading the pack is late or missing vendor payments, followed by long financial close process. That can be a real burden. And then the next two that are popular are manual data entry across multiple systems and lack of spend visibility. So thank you all for doing that. And let me ask the next one. As I mentioned, we want to get a sense for who you are. And this is asking, what version of Dynamics GP are you currently using? And our choices are prior to 18.2 and 18.2, 18.3, and then 4, 5, and 6. Right. Give it a couple more seconds here. Great. About a third of the audience, the majority has reported that they're on 18.6. Then the next biggest group, 18%, is on 18.5. Also 18% is prior to 18.2 and 18.3. And the rest of the group is on 18.4. Next question. And so we're talking about alternatives to email. And so what we would like you to think about is, if, obviously currently you can't do it, but what would you like to be able to email from GP? Vendor remittances, customer orders, customer invoices, customer statements, purchase orders. This is a multiple choice. You can select as many as, apply to your particular situation. Are all quite popular. So 86% of you would like to be able to email vendor remittances. 64% of you would like to be able to email customer invoices and customer statements. 43% purchase orders and 29% customer orders. So here is the third question. And how often would you email from GP if you could? Oops. Let's see, why isn't that launching?
The other one is still up on the screen.
All right, maybe that's the problem.
Went away.
We have better luck. And this is the third one, as promised. Now there was a big tease there. Now you can see it. Would you like to email daily, weekly, monthly, some other frequency? And this really speaks to the pain folks must be feeling. 67% of the audience would like to email on a daily basis, 20% on a weekly basis, and 7% on a monthly or other basis. So we'll end that. And this is the final question. And that is, what kind of volume do you have with your emails? 1 to 250 at a time, 251 to 500 at a time, or lots, 501 to over 1,000. All right, this is unanimous. 1 to 250 emails at a time. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you bearing with the glitch and the delay. Thank you.
Well, getting back to Liaison Messenger, they are a company that was founded in 1993. It gives you the ability to batch email, fax, archive, FTP, or print GP forms and reports. It has a powerful workflow functionality, like attaching supporting documents, calling stored procedures, scheduling Crystal reports for unattended processing. The end result is you can send out documents electronically to your customers, to your vendors, employees, and remote offices. Liaison also supports the primary email clients, meaning Outlook, Office 365, SMTP, or a regular MAPI client, or interestingly, you can also use Gmail accounts or Outlook.com accounts if needed. Liaison also works with 21 other ERP systems. It works with Intact and Business Central. So it can follow you if you transfer over to either one of those applications. And then Liaison can be used with just standard reports or the Word templates, Crystal SSRS reports, and management reporter reports. With the management reporter reports, we would enter like the recipient's email address in the reporting tree. And then once you went to click to generate and print the report, it would automatically send those out. Liaison does support both static attachments and variable attachments. So if you're, let's say you have a new product or something and you want all your customers to be aware of it, you could attach something like that and have it apply to anybody that you would be emailing statements or anything else to. Variable attachments are more or less like invoices associated to statements, purchase orders or packing slips. And the other interesting thing is that QR codes can be printed directly on the document. And you may have a payment portal that people could use, so that could be embedded in the QR code. That's up to you. And then let's see here. The way Liaison works is that once it's installed, which is a pretty easy install, with the help of Liaison, they help set up the initial jobs, if you want to call it that, and the jobs have various steps in them. This particular screenshot that I'm showing is the company wants to be able to send out 401k enrollment forms to those people who have been with the company for 1 year. And so the first step is to determine who has just completed their first year. And based on the results of that, it will send out the enrollment forms to those people. And then we could also have it send us a recap report of what went out, like to who they went out to. So that's, and you can have a variety of jobs and stuff like that. But let's see. Just in addition, oh, sorry. Liaison also has some pretty robust logging features. If you see here, within their service monitor, you can see what's in queue, what's going to be processed. You can look at the history and see everything that's been sent or archived or FTP'd, any of those, and see what the status of those were. And then, since it does also do like archiving of documents and stuff like that, it does separate it out for those that are receiving an email, not just archiving copies, but these would actually be emails that are sent out. So that's the third tab. And then if there's any issues, they'll be displayed in the fourth tab of unresolved. And you'll need to look into those, and perhaps you just got a letter wrong in their email address or something like that. Some of the additional functionality that Liaison offers, in addition to just sending statements and invoices, you can also send like password protected earnings statements to individuals or to employees. It can also send out EFT remittances, as well as management reporter reports, like I discussed a little bit ago. And then you could use it kind of as an unattended collections management system, where you could have it go out and see, okay, who's beyond 90 days, and I want to send those individuals an email with the associated invoices that need to be paid, and then that'll create a log, and maybe you have it run once a week or however often you want, but it's completely unattended. It just, you set up the rules or the jobs within Liaison, and it takes care of the rest. The other thing is one of the big issues that we've come across is Outlook can handle, I believe it's up to 30 emails per minute. And if you're sending out, 50, it's very possible that random ones could be ignored and not sent. And, trying to find which ones got sent, which ones didn't get sent, is frustrating. But Liaison allows you to what they call throttle back the number of emails that it processes at any given time. So if we say, okay, I wanted to send 25 emails or less per minute, just to be on the safe side, and you can do that, and none of the emails will get missed. The other thing is GP project accounting and multi-currency statements do not function in email. They don't have the functionality in those areas. With Liaison Messenger, you could do that, could send those. Outside of the initial setup, that's the biggest piece. Once that's done, in terms of training, the end user, it's pretty easy. Whenever they go to print a document, they select this Liaison Messenger printer driver. And once you print to that, it automatically goes back to the Liaison server and sends out the emails. And kind of hinted about this, but you can get Liaison in a variety of different flavors, if you want to call it that. One of the popular ones is the EFT remittances. You can get the full suite, or you can just get these individual pieces. Like if you just want to use it for sales collections or invoices collections, you can do that. You can also send earnings statements, which can be password protected within Liaison. And then the EFT remittances, just using like Word documents, those go out nicely. And that's about all I have for Liaison. Natalie, can you tell us something about Forms Printer?
I certainly can, and thank you very much for walking us through that. And Liaison is a great product. It is, the hard part is getting it set up and configured. And then just like Jim said, they just have to choose a printer. If I want to email them, I choose my printer and all the hard stuff is already configured and done and just shoots out and it knows where to go. So it is a great tool. So I am, like I said, Natalie Avery. I have worked with many of you before, but if I have not worked with you, I have been with LBMC for next month will be 2 years. And before that, I worked at 2 other resellers. I've been doing this for, I don't really want to throw the number out there, but 20 plus years in the GP market space, implementing, writing reports, writing up, SQL queries, doing imports, and I do a lot of emailing and forms building. So I'm going to tell you about Forms Printer, which is an add-on product that you can buy for GP, and it allows you to not only email out your forms, so sales invoices, purchase orders, customer statements, things like that. It also lets you redirect your forms to a different type of form. So this is one thing that Forms Printer does that Liaison does not. But if I don't want to use the ugly report writer form that's inside of GP or those Word templates, and I don't know how many of you have ever had to fight with a Word template, but it is an uphill battle all the time. This one lets you use Crystal, and it also lets you use SSRS. So, and you can also you are not stuck with those two. You can use report writer and Word templates if you have them built and you like the way they look. We can also just keep those in play. It emails for you. It will let you archive copies of what you're emailing out. You can print in different formats. Like if I want to send it in Word, I don't know why people would do that, but it occasionally comes up. If I have a big giant invoice and I want to send it out in Excel for my client, it also lets me do things like that. And we'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. It does support the modern authentication. It also lets me choose where I want to pull these email addresses from. If I'm not just using that address card and I have my addresses stored like maybe in the email section of my customer card, I can look at those. It's easy to install and set up, and it's easy to navigate, for the end users. So they give you Crystal and SSRS pre-built forms right out of the box. If you plug them in, they work right away. You know, they do have, you know, some fake logos on them, so we would want to open them up and swap them out, but they do give you a giant list of pre-built Crystal and SSRS SQL reporting services, for if you are not sure what that means. They do, and they also let you set up different ways of emailing. So I have one user who wants to send it from her Outlook. Well, we'll set up whatever she sends. Does she send purchase orders? We'll set up purchase orders to send directly from her Outlook. But then I have massive amounts of sales invoices that need to flow through, and I don't want to bog down the user's Outlook machine or the machine they're working on. So I'll set that up to go through my Exchange server, and it just shoots them through. And I can configure each different form type with its own emailing configuration. And you can see on the screen, they have SMTP, we have the Exchange Web Services, just straight Exchange, and then we have the Outlook. So I have had to configure a number of these, and so far we've been able to make them all work. And I just talked about this one, sending through the Outlook client, sending through your Office 365, modern authentication, and the different types. So we'll skip that. So this one is pretty neat and cool as well, because not only can I set up different forms for each company, so this company sells a different type of product and they need different type of information on their invoices. So I can have a form that works with company A and a different form that works with company B. I can even go down and say, this set of customers, they don't need to see a bunch of detail. They just need to know how much money they owe us. So this class of customers gets this form, and this class over here, they need to see all the dirty details. So we'll create a form for them that has that, and we'll assign it to them. You can even get as granular as per customer. So if you have one or two and everybody has one, a customer, there may be a big customer and they want you to put special stuff on their form. And so this product allows you to find that customer and very specifically assign them their own form. And the last thing that it does is, if you're using the SOP transactions, you know, the ones that let you put inventory items on it, a lot of clients have what we call a doc ID assigned to those. So you can have different forms per doc ID. I have a client that breaks down those doc IDs by their, you know, a profit center. So each one of those gets different forms because they happen to do different things. So this is another neat feature that I do like to show. Now, next, I am going to show you Forms Printer in action. I just have to figure out what screen I'm on. Is everybody seeing my GP right now?
Yep, I sure am.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate it. Okay, so I am going to show you guys in my own Fabricam company how I can send out. So first we'll take a quick look. And so we're going to talk about statements because it's simple and easy for us to do today. And you can see I have all kinds of forms configured. So I'm going to click on statement on blank paper right here. This one, I'm using a Crystal report that they gave me, and I've told it where to go find that Crystal report every time it uses it. This one is for my whole company. But if I wanted, I could click new and say, you know what? I want my other company to use something else. Here's a test GP company. Then it creates that company underneath, and then I can go pull a different form. But I'm going to go back up here. The other thing I can do is if I want it to go to file, and I can tell it, you know, save a PDF of these invoices to this folder that I build out and tell you every time I deliver it. Now this one's, I tell it, even though I want you to email it, I also want you to print it, which I really don't want it to print, but we have that turned on for our demo. And over here, now this is the emailing section. I do not have to turn that on, but I'm going to. And this is where I make my choice of how is this specific form going to get emailed out. Right now I'm using default, which is my Outlook client. I have my very generic Outlook client open. It isn't really even attached to my Exchange account at all. It's just an empty shell of Outlook. Here, I've said, what is the source? Are you using in the internet information, and what are you going to use as email addresses? Now here, it's not super complicated. Normally I could just choose, go and find my master bill to address and pull the emails from there. And that's the standard of GP. This one I've chose to script out my emails because these are statements and I don't want it to pull from the bill to address. I want these to go to somebody else. So on these, I've pulled from the little email button that's on the customer card. And I only have this as a sample because I had to do it for a client and they had all of their email addresses in there and they didn't want to move them. So I can put a reply to address in here if I would like. Over here under my send option, I have so many choices. So I can make it shoot out directly, which is what we usually do once we've tested them and we're happy with the way it behaves. I can tell it, go sit in my drafts folder and wait for me because I'm going to open you and maybe type a couple extra words in there. I can have it saved in the outbox. I can have it just pop open the email and open it right in front of me. But I'm going to save it to outbox for this. And I tell it, if it doesn't find an email address, please send it to my default printer. So if I have a pile on my printer, I know it's not finding email addresses for those. Down here, I've told it PDF is what I want. But like I said, I can do an Excel, I can do HTML, I can do a crystal report, all kinds of stuff. But I'm sticking with PDF. Now, attachment name. I also get to tell it how to name the attachment. And I've told it, use my customer number. And that's what it's going to do. I could also tack on other fields, like what is today's date? What is the customer's name? I can make that longer if I'd like. Now, the message that I get, let's take a look at this. This is using an invoice message. This is, here's your invoice, best regards. But I can make up as many messages as I like. I'll use this statement message. Let me take a look and see what's in there. This one says your statement has arrived. And then I've plugged in fields because you can do that. You can plug in fields in the message, customer number, customer name. I gave it a cutoff date just for something extra. And I've assigned it here. I also down here can tell it what to put in the subject line. I could put something as simple as your statement is here, or I can say, please find statements for, and I can put their customer number, customer name, any of the fields that are listed in this fun little box. And you don't have to know coding. All you have to do is double click on it. So with all of that said, I'm going to go over here to my statement printing. And statements. And I'm going to pull up my blank statements, blank form, because that is the one that I have configured. You do have to pay attention to that. If you're using long form or short form, you have to make sure you configure that one. Everything else is going to remain the same. I'm going to pick our favorite guy, Aaron Fitz. I thought, and I don't know if you guys ever have that where you lose all your check boxes, but I lost mine and I even restarted this thing today. So this is you'll see a different screen when you have Forms Printer. Do you just want to print it to the printer, or do you actually want to email it? So I'm going to click deliver, which means please email it for me. And then it goes through its motions. Now I had it set to also print so you can see on the screen what that crystal report looks like. Nope, I didn't. There's a good old Smart Connect, my favorite. So again, oh, and it tells me there was one email, there were 0 errors. It gives me a little message. And let's go look at my Outlook. So I did not have anything in here before. Now I have something in my outbox. I'm going to open it. These are all the email addresses I had in there. I was testing multiple email addresses to make sure it didn't chop any off, and it doesn't. And then I have the PDF it created. I did not save my message, so that's my fault. I have the old invoice messaging. And then if I double click on this PDF, there it is. And this is the Crystal out of the box. You know, we can edit these if we have Crystal, which is a quick purchase of $500. This particular statement is 5 pages. We won't go through all the pages. Nobody needs to see that. But it's that simple. So back to our fun. We just saw Forms Printer in action. So hopefully I did not speed through that too quickly for you. I was hoping to keep everything within the time we had. Does anyone have questions? If you do, please type them into the chat and we'd be happy to answer. I did see one question in there about, do they process the payroll direct deposits? And they do. They both of them will do that. I can tell you that on the forms, you know, we have some clients who have purchased third-party direct deposit statement emailing specifically, and you can do it at any time you want. If you forgot to do it when you processed your payroll, you can go back the next day and do it again. With Forms Printer, you're kind of stuck with the GP processing. You have to send it out when you process payroll. And if they say they didn't get it, going and doing it again is not as easy as it is with some of the other third-party payroll specific emailing. All right, let's see. So Dawn has put the link to the survey, and I asked if I could fill out that survey because you get a $250 Amazon card, but they said no.
Yes, so please take advantage of that very generous offer from Avid Exchange. Please fill out your survey by midnight tonight. I'll do the drawing tomorrow morning and let the winner know. A couple of announcements for our GP community. We will be at Community Summit this October in San Antonio. We have a promo code. If you are planning to attend, you can add LBMC 10 to your registration to receive 10% off. So we encourage you to use that, a little bit of money savings for your organization. Next slide. And this is the very first GP office hours. Coming up in March, our very own Brian Wilton will be presenting archiving data in your GP system. Brian is the president of LBMC Technology Solutions and a long time leader in the GP community. And then on April 16th, Sandy Wickman will be presenting GP Inventory. You Got This. If your organization uses inventory, I strongly encourage you to attend this session, or if you have a colleague who would be interested in it, let them know. Sandy presented this session at last year's Community Summit, and some of the comments that came in through her survey is, I've been using GP for 15 years and I didn't know that it had this functionality. And as well as very, very high marks. Sandy is a natural born teacher. So, and as you can see there, we are going to do this every single month, and we will be adding topics as we finalize on speakers and subject matter. And by the way, you can influence that. There is a section in the survey where you can make your requests for topics of discussion at future office hours. Next slide. What I wanted to mention to the audience is we all love GP, and at least for the foreseeable future, GP is going to be continued to be supported. But in the distant future, there might come a time where you have to make a decision regarding a cloud solution. And I wanted to emphasize that we have 3 cloud solutions that we offer. One is hosted GP. The other is D365 Business Central. And we typically start, if you are a manufacturer or a distributor, we usually start the discussion with D365 for your organization. We just think from a feature functionality, it's a better fit there, but every company is different. So, you know, a discussion is needed to sort that out. If you're a healthcare organization, nonprofit, professional services, financial services and insurance, or software and technology, we probably would start the discussion with Sage Intacct. Whatever solution you feel comfortable with is most important to us. And I just want you to know that we have several options for you. Next slide. As a Microsoft user, you are probably hearing more and more about Microsoft Copilot. It is integrated with Business Central, D365 CRM, and also Office. And you can get Copilot. I don't know if any of you are watching the Super Bowl, but there was an ad on during the Super Bowl for Microsoft sale or for Microsoft Copilot that you could get the app on your phone. We have a resource center with a dozen articles on Copilot that are available to you. And coming up on March 7th, if you're interested, we're going to be hosting a webinar on Microsoft Copilot. Next slide. That might be the end of my public service announcements for all things that we have for the GP community. So last chance for questions. And if there are no questions, I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A or the chat, but I want to thank Jim. I want to thank Natalie. And most importantly, I want to thank you for your partnership. And I hope to see you at future GP office hours. Thanks, everyone.
I agree. Thank you for giving us 45 minutes of your day today.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to next month.